Hello, spooky friends. It's me, DJ, your host of Crypts and Corks. I'm not here with Paul because this isn't an episode. We just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to do our first ever live streamed episode on February the 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram and Facebook. We're going to be doing this in honor of Valentine's Day, Singles Awareness Day. Paul and I are both going to die alone, never having gotten married. So, in honor of all of our singles and our would-be singles, if they weren't happily in relationships, who would like to join us on that night, we're going to do a special Valentine's Day story, have Valentine's Day cocktails, and follow it up with a little question and answer session with anyone who'd be there. So please join us on Instagram or Facebook Live on February 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, keep your crypts tight and your corks loose. Bye! Paul, what are all these boys doing in your yard?
My milkshakes!
And welcome back, spooky friends, to another episode of Crypts and Corks. My name's DJ, and I'm your host here with my Here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
Jesus, I would like to put a disclaimer in right here, right now. If I sound funny, if I sound low energy, it's because I'm dealing with the sinus cold. I'm not contagious. Paul's not going to get sick from this, but that's why I sound funny and why I may fuck up a lot. So with that being said, Paul, how the fuck are you?
I'm doing pretty okay. It's the first week of the new year.
Yeah.
You and I have started our diet. And It's miserable. One thing they don't tell you about being healthy is that it's miserable.
Yeah.
And all the good things you can eat are bad for you.
Okay, I'm going to shout out our friend Mike here. It's miserable because right now we're focusing on what we're giving up and what we're not having.
Mm-hmm.
But soon, McDonald's and junk food is going to be miserable, whereas, exercising and eating healthy is going to be our normal.
Well, it's going to be quite the journey to get there, because we have been treating our bodies like trash for so long.
Yeah. See, I was talking with my therapist yesterday, and we were talking about, and I really loved this. She said, I hate the term resolution. She's like, it's your New Year's intention. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I love that because I can follow an intention more than a resolution. But I said, I want to treat my body like a temple and not like a halfway house.
I've been to a few halfway houses, and they're not too bad.
No. I mean, maybe halfway house is not the best term. It's more like a bathhouse.
Yes, the floor of a bathhouse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spilled drinks, a lot of weird
There's a lot of spilled fluids. There's a lot of shit that shouldn't be there. There's a lot of stuff you don't want to be looking at.
Right, and people are always wondering why there's this random McNugget there.
See, in my case, it's a random Twizzler.
So that's your snack food is the Twizzler?
No. I just thought a Twizzler was more funny, but now that I think about it, a random McNugget on the floor of Club Pittsburgh, I'd be like, who brought McDonald's?
And honestly, icon, legend.
If I could get a Vicelli's pizza into Club Pittsburgh.
Oh my god. And you could eat the pizza in the hot tub? Oh my god.
I don't know. That hot tub is sketch.
It is sketchy, but game changer.
The hot tub might be where I got the cold from, honest to God.
How recently were you in this hot tub?
We'll talk about it when we're not on air.
But game changer, Vocelli's in the hot tub. And for those at home who don't know, Vocelli's is a local pizza place here in Pittsburgh.
It's a
chain.
It a chain? It is a chain because
they're a chain.
I don't know if it's a nationwide chain, but it's a chain because there are Vocelli's all over Pittsburgh at least. Hang on.
Yeah, but Vocelli's is the best pizza. If you have never had Vocelli's, you need to go get some because that is the best pizza I've had. Maybe not the best, but it's good.
It is a chain, but it's a chain based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
As of 2022, the chain has stores in Alabama, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia.
Well, there you go, folks.
Oh, In Pizza Today, the trade magazine Pizza Day ranked Vicelli Pizza in their top 100 pizza franchises.
It's really good pizza. So if you got one near you, check it out.
I know we're supposed to be eating healthy, but considering the snow, can we get Vicelli's tonight?
I guess we'll just see what happens, see where the day takes us.
Another reason why I am a little low energy is I exuded a lot of energy on the drive here. Normally it takes me 35 minutes. Today it took me close to an hour, maybe more, because we're in the middle of a snowstorm.
I know, it's snowing outside. It's pretty, but not fun to drive in.
Paul texted me last night at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and he goes, what if it snows tomorrow? And I'm like, we're still recording. Because it wasn't supposed to start till 2 o'clock, and I planned to be here by 2 o'clock.
Right.
And he was like, he's like, it's supposed to snow 1 to 3 inches. That's not enough.
And here we are. It started at 11 and not 1.
It started, Paul called me at 11. He's like, it's already snowing. And I got up, and it was a very light snow. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to shower. I'm going to do my thing. And I get out of the shower, and everything is white. Mm-hmm. And it's 11:35, 11:40, and I'm like, fuck.
Manifestation. I manifested the snow. I said
you did. And you know what Paul's reward for the manifesting snow? A roommate for the night, because I'm not leaving.
And that's okay. We'll be cozy and we'll make it work, and it'll be a party.
This is just funny. This has nothing to do with anything. But my grandparents' health insurance just changed.
Okay.
And my grandmother, she had a hell of a time because she used to have this health plan, and then she switched to someone else, and then it switched back. And, she's older. She writes everything down because she can't remember passwords. She won't just save it to the computer. Mm-hmm. And so she wrote it down on the envelope that her new health insurance came in on. She wrote my grandfather's on the envelope from his. She wrote hers down on hers. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I get out of the shower, and mind you, I'm sick. I'm out of it. I don't want to deal with anything. Mm-hmm. And they're freaking out, and it's like, did you shred anything yesterday? And I'm like, no. And they're like, and I'm like, why? And they're like, because my grandmother's like, because I can't find my envelope with my username and password. And they're freaking out, and my grandmother's just miserable. She's like, your fucking grandfather fucking shredded. He can't remember. He won't admit it. And I don't know why he can't leave fucking things alone. And my grandfather's like, will you help me move the furniture in the home office to see if it fell under something? And so I'm sick, and I go in there by myself to move this heavy chest of drawers to see if it fell back and underneath it. And while I'm back there, I happen to look behind the shredder, which sits right next to it. Mm-hmm.
And it's there?
It's behind the shredder.
Oh my God.
This shredder weighs less than 1 pound. They're going through the shredder. Never occurred to them to look behind it.
Oh my gosh.
And that is what I deal with on the daily. That's I love you, Nanny and Pap.
They could probably literally just call the company, and they could probably verify them over the phone and give them that information, I feel like.
Yeah, well, also, my grandmother spent an hour and a half the day before on the phone with the company trying to reset her password from a password that she set in 2004.
Jeez.
With security questions that she set in 2004, so she doesn't even remember them.
That's crazy.
What's the name of your firstborn grandchild? Has not changed, but she can't remember it.
That's crazy. She doesn't remember that. But, getting old is rough, and it is, I don't have much to say about that, but getting old is rough, and I wish them the best.
Yeah, and you and I are getting older, and in the spirit of that, you ready to drink?
Yeah, let's get this paranormal pairing going.
This paranormal pairing, I'm sick, so I don't even care. It's very on the nose. It is a Zombie Chard. It's a California Chardonnay. The Zombie Chardonnay shines bright in this dark world. its aroma so rare of honeysuckle and mouth-watering ripe fruits. It possesses the spirit with golden apple, vanilla bean, and succulent lemon-lime flavors, ending with a forbidden finish of wild strawberries. If you dare venture out and want to find us, look for the clues at chateau.com/zombie. Be smart and stay alive. Cellared and bottled by Chateau Diana, Healdsburg, California.
Speaking of forbidden finishes, I've had a few of those before.
Not recently.
No, not recently. It's been pretty dry lately.
This one is not a pop, it is a crack. That was weak. I had to muffle it with my sleeve to get it, but oh well.
It's fine. What can you do?
ASMR pour. Pourvu. Ooh. I really smell that apple.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, I am drinking because, believe it or not, alcohol does help colds.
And I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Oh.
You don't like Chardonnay, do you?
She's definitely different. She's not my favorite, but you know. Not everything can be a winner. I feel like it would be better if it was cold.
I guess it is a Chardonnay. I mean, it's a Halloween wine.
I'm sure
We bought it for the gimmick.
Yeah.
You bought it for the gimmick.
It's very much a gimmick wine. And that's okay.
I'm sorry, Chateau Diana.
You know,
love your name.
Yeah, it's a cute name. And if you have any better suggestions like Chateau Diana, let us know. If you have any more wines you're like, think we should try if we didn't like this one, let us know.
Yeah.
Because this one was okay.
Yeah, and Chardonnay is my favorite white wine. Okay, well, we're still going to drink it.
Right. I mean, if there's an alcohol percentage above 5%, trust and believe it's going down. We're
14.
14%. There we go. It's one.
That's higher than like... Is that higher than a White Claw?
I think it is higher. I think a White Claw is like 8%.
Nice. All right, Paul. Let me tell you a story.
I'm ready.
Imagine going to a cemetery to pay your respects to a departed loved one. While there, you notice a man in a tattered suit stumbling. You're concerned, worried he may be hurt or ill. You call out to him to see if he needs help. He turns and begins to stumble towards you. Only then do you notice that not only is he pale, he's covered with gashes and lesions. And then with horror you realize those aren't wounds. It's decay. It's too late. He's coming to get you, Paul. He's coming to get you. Today, we're discussing zombies.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
Do you get that reference?
Yeah, Night of the Living Dead.
Thank God, because that's
gosh.
going to be a big part of this episode. Dad, if you are listening, this is his favorite horror movie. Mm-hmm. He loves zombies. When I was little, my mother told me fairy tales about, my mother was a Disney parent.
Mm-hmm.
She loved Disney. She loved Disney movies. She would sit down and watch them with us. My father was a huge, 40s, 50s, 60s horror fan.
Yeah.
So, but me and my brother were not. So, instead of telling us fairy tales, he would tell us monster stories.
No.
So, Night of the Living Dead was like a fairy tale to me growing up.
I just picture you in bed and your mom's telling you the most horrifying story.
No, my mom would tell me Cinderella. My dad would tell me Night of the Living Dead.
You'd be just laying in bed. It's and then he stabbed her and she bled to death. And now he's coming to get you.
I just remember
okay, good night, kids.
I remember just being 7, and he was and Barbara walked up to him and she said, because my father did voices too, and he was like, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry my brother Johnny's making fun of you." And then he grabbed her and tried to eat her, and Johnny tried to rescue her, but he fell over and hit his head against a gravestone, and me being like, "Oh no, what happened to Johnny?" And my father just being like, "He hit his head on a gravestone, he died, duh."
Oh my god. And then later he's like, why do the kids keep having nightmares? What's going on?
No, honestly, we can laugh about it, but it's honestly a really special memory because I have very fond memories of my dad telling, he would tell us Night of the Living Dead, he would tell us Dracula, he'd tell us Frankenstein, he'd tell us the Wolfman, but he'd tell them fairy tales. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of oh, la 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 la.
My dad told us about Russia and communism.
Did your dad really?
Mm-hmm. My dad is very into Russia, and he very much does not like communism, and that is something we have had many conversations about for long periods of time.
Does your dad like Ronald Reagan?
I'm not sure, but...
You're going to have to ask him because, you're just he's very anti-communistic, and I something's just telling me, this is a guy who goes, Ronald Reagan. Hell yeah.
America, yeah. I could very much see my dad doing that.
The caw was the American eagle flying over America. Hell yeah.
Exactly. Oh, that's very my dad coded.
I've never met your father. I don't know if I ever will meet your father.
Maybe one day.
Not that I'm against meeting your father. I just don't know how your father's going to feel about meeting me, considering I'm...
Well, he meets me all the time, and I'm gay. So.
But you're a son.
Yeah, he's met, my gay friends before. It's fine. He's fine. He probably won't talk much, but that's okay. That's usually the thing.
Neither does your brother till after a couple drinks.
My brother doesn't drink.
He wasn't drinking that night we were all drinking with him and your mom?
No, he'll have, one drink. He's, sober.
Oh, my God.
He's not sober because he was,
He's just shy.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not sober because he had a drinking problem or anything. He's
a health nut.
Exactly. He's a health nut, and he just doesn't like drinking, at all. He doesn't like the way it makes him feel and everything.
Jesse, we love you. You are a friend of the pod.
Yeah, shout out.
Well, Paul, the zombie that you and most of our listeners are thinking of from Night of the Living Dead, Walking Dead, Resident Evil, that's a very modern creation.
Mm-hmm.
The term zombie actually dates back to Haitian folklore and voodoo religion, through which a dead body is reanimated, usually through magic. Now, Haitian Vodou is an African diasporic religion that developed between the 16th and 19th centuries in Haiti as a result of the blending of the beliefs of Central and West African religions and Roman Catholicism.
That's so interesting. I've always found voodoo and all that so interesting.
Yeah, so I felt like it was very important in this to really go back to the beginning to get an understanding of what a real zombie is before we discuss the evolution to the modern.
Mm-hmm.
Haitian Vodou is not to be confused with similar but separate forms of voodoo practiced elsewhere in the Caribbean and southern United States, including the most famous Louisiana Voodoo. Haitian Voodoo is spelled Vodou to separate it from the other voodoos.
Okay.
So even though it's pronounced the same, it does have a different spelling, and all these different voodoos. Voodoo is not one thing, it is many things.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar because they're blended between these African religions from the Africans that were brought over enslaved and the Christian belief system prevalent and where they were brought to.
Okay.
So the term voodoo comes from the West African Thon word voodon, meaning spirit or deity. The word voodoo itself is Haitian Creole for a specific style of dance and drumming, but was adopted by outsiders to the religion to name the religion. So basically, white people not understanding what real voodoo is used it to name this religion.
Okay. As white people do.
Yeah. Like we talked in Robert the Doll, when we talked about the Bahamian maid or the Barbadian maid, that's one of the theories that a Barbadian maid made this giant voodoo doll that was Robert the Doll.
Mm-hmm.
White people tend to mysticize things they don't understand.
Exactly.
Voodoo is not an autonomous religion, and many of its practitioners are both voodooists and Roman Catholics.
That's interesting.
So autonomous, you were raised Catholic, I was raised Catholic, and we were raised to believe that Catholic was an autonomous religion. You're the Catholic or you're not. You can't be Catholic and something else. Voodoo is not. You practice voodoo, you practice Catholicism.
Okay, that makes sense.
So some beliefs about the zombies. In Haitian folklore, a zombie is a dead person who has been revived through the use of magic. This is done by a bokor, which is a witch or sorcerer, as opposed to a hungan, who is a priest, or a mambo, which is a priestess. Mm-hmm. Because in voodoo, you have priests and priestesses, but you also have these people, bokors, who aren't practitioners who practice light voodoo. They practice the darker side of it.
Okay.
The zombie, once created, is the personal slave of the bokor and has no free will of their own.
Huh, that's interesting that the zombie is the slave there, but in modern times, the zombie is has its own free will. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see how it develops to the zombie having free will, whereas back in the day it didn't really have that free will.
Yeah. The belief probably came with enslaved Africans brought to Haiti by colonizers and formed through their experiences over generations in the New World. It was believed in this religion that when a person died, the voodoo deity Baron Samedi would take them to a heavenly afterlife in Africa. However, if that person offended Baron Samedi, he would instead reanimate their corpse and allow them to be a slave forever. Professor Amy Wylance has hypothesized that the modern concept of the zombie has direct roots to slavery in Haiti. She posits that slave drivers on Haitian plantations, oftentimes themselves slaves and voodooists or even priests themselves, would use the threat of zombification to keep slaves from committing suicide to escape slavery.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know zombies went back to, that far and had that deep of a thing in culture back in the day.
Yeah, so her theory is that because think about it, you're living this terrible life where you're literally the property of somebody else. You've been you or your ancestors have been dragged from your homeland and forced into slavery. Overall, I understand, throughout history, there were some slave owners who were benevolent to their slave owners, but overall, whether you're benevolent or not, they were your property.
Right, you own people. That's not benevolent. That's
and so
okay.
Whether you're benevolent or not doesn't matter. But overall, most people treated them worse than livestock.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, worse than livestock. But you were often regarded like a cow or a goat or a sheep.
Exactly.
So I can see how a lot of a slave might think oh, I'm gonna just off myself so I can escape this. Right. And the slave drivers being no, because Baron Samedi will if you commit suicide, Baron Samedi will turn you into a zombie and you still have to work the fields for the rest of eternity.
Right. And this parallel between that and the Christian religion, where in some sects of the Christian religion, where if you commit suicide, you go to hell. So it's interesting to see these parallels between the religions. Yes. And how suicide is frowned upon.
Yeah, and remember, this is blending. Voodoo is the taking of the Central and West African beliefs and Roman Catholicism and blending them together.
Right.
Actually, in the Haitian belief system, there are two types of zombie. There is the zombie itself, which is the reanimated body of a deceased person used as a slave by the bokor, or there is the zombie astral. The zombie astral would be the soul of a person which has been captured and trapped by a bokor to either enhance their own power or to sell to a client as a good luck charm. It is believed that God can reclaim the zombie astral, making them only a temporary spiritual entity. So this duality makes it so that the zombie is a person who is missing one half of its soul, either the flesh or the spirit.
Oh, wow. That's so wild. So interesting.
Yeah. So a zombie could also be, and I mean, you could go to a bookstore and be like, I need a good luck charm. Like, my crop failed. And they could hand you a little bottle and say, this has a zombie in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if you hold on to it, your crop will do good.
Yeah.
But, like I said, the flesh zombie, there's really no saving it because your spirit has already been taken.
Oh.
But God will always eventually get the zombie astral back.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some hope if your spirit's captured.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have gone into a deeper dive, but eventually we will do a whole episode on voodoo, all the practices as an overview, because it is one of the most misunderstood religions in the world.
Yeah, I'm excited for that episode. I would love to know more.
The concept of the zombie began to gain attention during the United States occupation of Haiti from 1915 to 1934, when zombie cases were reported. They really came to widespread attention with the publishing of The Magic Island in 1929 by William Seabrook, who was an American explorer and traveler who immersed himself in Haitian Vodou. His book is considered to be the first English-language description of the zombie, which he defined as, quote, a soulless human corpse, still dead, but taken from the grave and endowed by sorcery with a mechanical semblance of life. It is the dead body which is made to walk and act and move as if it were alive. The chapter Dead Man Working in the Cane Fields describes the creatures which have been reanimated to perform labor. Seabrook even cited Article 246 of the Haitian Penal Code, which states, quote, also shall be qualified as attempted murder, the employment which may be made by any person of substances which, without causing actual death, produce a lethargic coma more or less prolonged. If, after administering of such substances, the person has been buried, the act shall be considered murder no matter what result follows. Unquote. So basically that's saying if somebody gives somebody else a drug or some substance which renders them in like a trance-like coma, allowing zombification, it will be considered attempted murder. But if that person, the drug is administered to them and they're buried, even if they're not dead and they come back, it's considered murder.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you can't just go around burying people.
No.
Like, that's crazy.
In 1937, Zora Neale Hurston, who is an African-American author, filmmaker, and anthropologist, encountered the story of a woman who appeared in a village and was claimed to be Felicia Felix's mentor, a woman who had died in 1907 at the age of 29. A doctor examined the woman and determined it to not be Felicia after x-rays showed she did not have a leg fracture that Felicia was known to have. Neale Hurston pursued the idea that zombies were the result of a powerful psychoactive drug, but was unable to find anyone willing to discuss it with her. She wrote, quote, what is more, if science ever gets to the bottom of voodoo in Haiti and Africa, it will be found that some important medical secrets, still unknown to medical science, gives it its power rather than gestures of ceremony. Unquote.
Okay.
So she was saying it was drugs and medicine and science which were at the heart of voodoo and zombification.
That makes sense. Because I feel like these people aren't necessarily dying. They're just being put in a trance where they don't have, like, body autonomy and they don't know how to act, and they're just kind of, like, moseying around, kind of.
Yeah, and one of the big concepts is... So that's one of the big hypotheses behind the early cases of zombies is some powerful drug that puts them into a trance or this lethargic coma, or maybe hypnosis.
Right.
Another one is mental illness.
Could be a thing. I mean, back in the day, they didn't really understand mental illness.
Yeah, and like if you're schizophrenic, but you're not like mumbling to yourself, you're just sort of walking around in a trance.
Yeah.
That could be perceived as like a zombie.
That makes sense, honestly. And like going a little bit back to like how like they would bury people and that was illegal. I could see like if you had an enemy, you give them this drug to make them a zombie, be like, oh, they're dead, I'm gonna bury them, let me just get rid of this person real quick. Like I could very much see that happen. Like, and why they would make that illegal.
I mean, you would more give it to your enemy to turn them into a zombie, but like if you gave it to them and they were buried by the family thinking they were dead.
Oh.
So basically, like if I gave you this drug.
Right.
To turn you into a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here in your house, I give you the drug, you go into this lethargic coma.
Mm-hmm.
You undergo zombification.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm caught, that's considered attempted murder.
Right, because it is. Like, it makes sense.
Even if you come out of it. However, if I give it to you, and you get really sick, and your family finds you, and they think you're dead, and they bury you, and then I dig you up to become my zombie, even though you're alive, if I get caught, it's considered murder.
I mean, that's really interesting.
That's how the law's written.
That's more of a philosophical debate, a philosophical.
Even if you don't die,
if I could die.
fact that you were buried, they're like, yep, it's murder.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird line. Because they're still alive, so I wouldn't consider that murder. I mean, maybe it was attempted murder, so they could be charged with that.
Yeah. So even, if the person, doesn't die, even if they come out of it, it's, considered attempted murder or murder.
That's wild.
So up to this point, the zombie we've discussed has very little in common with the zombie of movies, television shows, and literature we're familiar with. So how did they evolve? Well, believe it or not, one of the first major works to influence modern zombies was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, published in 1818.
Oh, see, that makes sense. Okay.
Now, Frankenstein's creature isn't per se a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelley never used the term zombie. But it does feature a reanimated corpse.
Right, which is essentially a zombie.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this work uses science rather than mysticism to reanimate the corpse. But at its heart, it still features a creature born of a reanimated corpse that is regarded as degraded, violent, and subhuman.
Okay.
Which are all things we regard zombies as.
Exactly, okay.
They're monsters.
Oh, I never thought of Frankenstein as a zombie, but now that you say that, yes.
I won't classify as a zombie. This is just inspiration.
Okay.
So we learned about the Haitian zombie. So we learned about where the word came from. Now we're going to see where our concept came from.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Shelley may have been inspired by European stories of the vengeful dead, such as vampires, which are undead creatures which feed on the living as vengeance.
Mm-hmm. Well, zombies don't really do it out of vengeance.
No, but they do. But, I mean, the modern zombie does feed on the living.
That's very true.
H.P. Lovecraft was also very instrumental in the modern idea of the zombie. He wrote several stories of reanimated corpses, but it was his work, Herbert West Reanimator, whose descriptions bear the most resemblance to the modern zombie. The story revolves around the titular West, who is a mad scientist who's attempting to reanimate corpses with varied results. The reanimated corpses are generally described as mute, primitive, and violent.
Okay. That sounds like we're getting closer to the modern zombie.
Getting closer. So now we're gonna come up to the modern age when modern Hollywood knows about zombies from Haiti.
Okay.
And they're sort of blending them. And so we talked about Seabrook's book, The Magical Island. It inspired a 1932 film starring Bela Lugosi, who is the original Dracula.
Oh, really?
Titled White Zombie. It shows zombies more in line with the Haitian zombie, mindless, unthinking henchmen for an evil magician. However, in this case, they are alive but under a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies would periodically and sporadically appear in horror films throughout the rest of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but they mostly used the voodoo rationale and storyline.
Oh, okay. So stealing from the voodoo culture for entertainment.
Exactly.
I see.
That all changed with a man named George A. Romero. Mr. Romero was a graduate of Carnegie Mellon University here in Pittsburgh.
Hometown pride!
And was a burgeoning filmmaker. He made mostly commercials or industrial films.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1968, he embarked to produce his first full-length feature film. That's like a full-length movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, you just kind of gave me this blank stare.
No.
It was probably like a go-on stare that I misinterpreted.
No, you're fine. I'm very enthralled in this information.
It was heavily inspired by the 1954 novel I Am Legend, which is about a lone human survivor in a world in which a plague has turned everyone else into vampire-like creatures.
Ooh, and that's a movie, too.
That is a movie. The first movie was made, I think, 1956.
Mm-hmm.
56, 57, or 58.
And I do know they remade it.
They did remake it. The first one was with Vincent Price, who is a great early horror film actor.
Mm-hmm.
I love the early horror films, and he's one of my favorites. He has that really iconic horror film voice and laugh that you think of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was remade in the early 2000s with Will Smith.
Yeah.
But those vampires were they were vampires, but they looked zombie-esque.
Right.
However, the novel really shows the aftermath of the crisis. Romero wanted to make a piece showing the crisis unfold. So this resulted in a low-budget film with a cast with no well-known actors. Romero mostly cast actors from commercials he had previously directed, as well as a few theatrical actors, and it was filmed mostly in Evans City and Butler County, just north of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The film was so low budget, they could not afford to build a set, and instead bought a condemned farmhouse which they could easily destroy during filming.
That's wild.
They didn't really have a script. They had like a rough outline. And the actors just sort of improv lines throughout.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild. Now, this film, are you going to tell us the name of this film? You're getting there? She's getting there? Okay, I'll come down. I'll sit down.
The film would be called Night of the Living Dead.
One of the most iconic horror films of all time, of course. Filmed right here in our hometown.
Yes. The film begins with siblings Johnny and Barbara visiting their father's grave in a cemetery in rural Pennsylvania when Barbara is attacked by a pale man in a tattered suit who then kills Johnny. Barbara flees to a local farmhouse where she discovers 5 other survivors who are each killed in their efforts to evade the horde of reanimated and flesh-hungry recently deceased.
Right.
One of my favorite lines is the description given by the local sheriff of these creatures. Well, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Oh my god.
I say that a lot because I grew up with this movie because of my dad. When something's wrong, I'll go, well, they're dead. They're all messed up.
That reminds me of the people in my hometown, honestly, the accent and everything. And, honestly, my favorite line from that movie is, I'm coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming to get you, Barbara. Okay, yeah. Excuse me.
I looked it up. I did look it up. What an iconic movie.
I know. I'm pretty sure, didn't they film, a later one in the Monroeville Mall?
Yes, I will get to that.
Oh, we're getting there. I'll calm down.
You've seen the original movie. Let's just discuss that for a minute.
Black and white. I hate black and white movies.
But it works.
I mean, it does.
It's dark.
But I don't like black and white movies. It's just who I am as a person.
See, but you like black and white pictures, don't you?
No.
Don't you? I could have swore I've seen you use a black and white filter on an Instagram photo.
Scroll through my entire
That
Instagram.
might be me.
The only black and white pictures you'll find of me is when I've had pictures taken of me by a professional photographer. So a lot of black and white pictures from me come from college, right?
Okay.
And
Let's not harp on the black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not your, like, it's very dark. I mean, you watch the crisis unfold. A lot of it is like radio and television reports. They're watching as the crisis unfolds. There's the moment when the parents whose little girl has been bitten, the mother goes into the basement and finds the little girl feeding on the father's corpse.
I know.
And then she kills the mother with the garden trowel.
Right.
Barbara being killed by the reanimated Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ending where Ben, the sole African-American character in the movie, he ends up being the only survivor. And the day after this is the ending, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, it's only been out for 50 years.
Right.
He emerges from the house, and the local militia or police shoot him thinking he's a zombie.
Right? Isn't that such a sad, disappointing ending? Like, there's no satisfaction in the end. I hate movies like that when everyone dies.
But I think that's the point of it.
Probably. But I just don't like movies like that where everyone dies. I like there to be a survivor. I like there to be a hero. I like there to be a winner.
So, and I get into this a couple... Okay, let me talk about the release.
Okay.
Once it was released, it was panned by critics for being far too dark, far too gory, and its lack of heroes winning out in the end. Roger Ebert, who is a famous film critic, chided theater owners and parents who let their children see such a movie. Variety called it, quote, an unrelieved orgy of sadism, unquote, and denounced it as practically pornography due to its gruesome nature and extreme violence.
Oh my gosh, if they think that's violent, if they saw movies today.
It was regarded as a failure for Romero himself, for the horror genre, and for the entire Pittsburgh film industry.
And here we are today. See, when people try and put you down, you get right back up and let them know what's up.
Despite the critical denouncement of the film, it became one of the highest grossing horror films. Ebert, despite his chiding of theater owners and parents, said that if it weren't for the children in the movie theater with him, other than that, he loved the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He said it had a great story. It was a great story. It worked really well. In the decade after, in the year of its release, it was the highest grossing film in Europe.
Really? Europe too? That's crazy.
In Europe, out of all types of movies.
That's crazy.
In the decade after its release, it made $15 million at the box office.
And that's back in the day too.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
5 years after it was released, it was lauded as the highest grossing horror film produced outside of a major studio.
Jeez.
Today, it is regarded as both a classic film and a classic of the horror genre. Mm-hmm. Romero cites using an ordinary, unexciting setting, creating a sense of normalcy interrupted, and real fear, versus previous horror films which used crappy cardboard sets and mysterious villains lurking in the shadows as one of the film's hallmarks. And critics and film historians cite the film as a precursor and an inspiration to the famous 1970s slasher films such as Halloween and... I'm blinking.
There's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I wanted to say that, but I
classics.
thought those were 80. The sequels came out in the 80s, but
classics.
Yeah. Because up to then, you didn't have a lot of horror.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Psycho, with the blood going around the drain, I think that was pretty much the goriest film up until this time. And that was made in 1960, 61.
And that didn't even really show much.
No, and it was just the blood. It was ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So this was huge. But did you know that never in this movie, which was the turning point for zombies in media and a turning point in both the film industry and horror film industry itself, the term zombie was never used.
Really?
Never. In fact, Romero never even used the term zombie in his script. He used the term ghoul.
Ghoul. That's so wild. And that's crazy that they never even considered them zombies, because that's the most famous what we consider zombie movies of all time.
It was commentators and critics who used the term after to apply to the film.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it was cemented. So this film marks the first time when zombie is used to define, rather than an undead slave bound to an evil master, an undead creature who hungers for flesh.
So he created the culture.
He
got the girls on the shit. He got the girls together. He said, this is what we're doing.
This film also marks the shift from the mysticism of voodoo, one of the world's most maligned and misunderstood religions, towards science, with explanations for zombification often being biological rather than magical.
And from there, it really just took off.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you how. Since its release in 1968, Night of the Living Dead has sparked an entire subgenre of horror media revolving around zombies. Romero would go on to make an entire franchise of 5 further Living Dead films, and it firmly cemented him as father of the zombie.
I'm here for it.
As you mentioned, the second film in the franchise, Dawn of the Dead, was filmed mostly in Monroeville Mall here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with Pittsburgh being central to the creation of the zombie, of the genre, and the modern concept of the zombie. It can be claimed, and is, that Pittsburgh is the zombie capital of the world.
Period. Hometown pride. Let them know what's up. Get up in it, yins, guys.
To this day, the Monroeville Mall is still home to the Living Dead Museum, and every year Monroeville Mall and Evans City, Pennsylvania host Living Dead conventions.
Oh my gosh, that's so
We're
cool. Going. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I live here. That's crazy.
I have been to the Living Dead Museum.
Mm-hmm.
Not for many, many years, but my dad, when they first opened, my dad was like, I'm here for it.
He was first in line.
And, I'm like a big baby. I don't like gore, and, Night of the Living Dead is kind of gory, but, I can handle it. But, the shift into, real gore,
mm-hmm.
Oh my god, they have, prosthetics there, I say prosthetics. They have, latex recreations of, some of the most iconic zombies in film.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh my god, I was just Dad, can we go to Hot Topic?
Oh my gosh. We can't talk about Hot Topic right now. I'm still being haunted by the emo boys on the internet.
You will forever be haunted by the emo boys.
That's very true. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Colby Brock can haunt me anytime, any day.
You just want Colby Brock to be your incubus.
Okay. Low-key, yes. But I'm not going to say that, because if we ever meet him, that would be weird. And I'm not trying to be weird.
Colby, I love you and Sam in a very I think you're cool way. Please don't shun us. Or at least don't shun me. I'll come ghost hunting with you.
Right. We'll go on ghost hunts. We'll have a party. It'll be a good time. And I promise we will be the utmost gentlemen.
I don't know. We're kind of raunchy.
Well, we'll be gentlemen, and that will respect you, but we're still going to be, raunchy and, ourselves and everything.
I'm going to list a couple famous zombie media here, and if I miss any that you think are iconic, please, when I'm done, shout them out. So we have the Living Dead series.
Yeah.
We have 28 Days Later.
Oh, good one, yeah.
We have Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
We have Zombieland.
Oh, yeah.
Which, who is that? That's Woody Harrelson and the awkward guy from...
Oh, gosh, what's his name? He was in Kick-Ass.
What an iconic, movie. And, of course, another one of my father's favorites. I know not to call him after a certain time on Sundays, because he will be watching The Walking Dead.
Oh, yes, The Walking Dead. That's a good one. And The Walking Dead has a spin-off too, I forget.
It has a couple spin-offs and other things. The Walking Dead's a whole subgenre of zombies at this point. Any that I missed that you can think of?
Shaun of the Dead, which
Shaun of the Dead parody.
Yeah, parody. A good parody of zombie movies. But other than that, I really can't think of anything else.
Yeah, no.
Shaun of the Dead was pretty okay.
I wanted to stick to strict zombie and not so much parody or comedy.
Right.
Since Romero, zombies have evolved in shape and form. Each media type and form has zombies formed and fitted to its specific needs. From zombies created by disease to results of mutations to bioweaponry. And from classic Romero slow walkers to the more aggressive running zombies of later fame that were introduced in Resident Evil. There is even a subgenre of zombie film revolving around zombie romance, usually between a zombie and a living person.
Oh my god!
Okay, it sounds weird at first, but
I know what movie you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
Warm Bodies with Nicholas Hoult.
Yes! Oh my god!
But you also have The Corpse Bride.
Oh, that was such a good one. Why did I not think of that?
I didn't think of it either. iZombie, that TV show.
Okay, yeah.
And Disney Channel's zombie film series.
Okay, we don't gotta talk about that one. We don't gotta bring that one into
I don't know. The guy who plays the zombie's kind of cute.
Okay, it's a Disney movie, girl. We gotta calm down. We gotta make sure they're of age.
Also, I don't know if it's classified, but Santa Clarita Diet.
I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, it's very... I don't think Drew Barrymore's character is ever specifically regarded as a zombie, but there's such zombification undertones in it.
I agree, yeah, very much that.
The fact that she has to eat human flesh, the fact that if she doesn't, she rots.
Very that.
So, the genre has also given rise to the idea of the zombie apocalypse, which has society crumble after initial outbreak of zombification, which is a whole nother subgenre of media. And a real fear. I mean, do you remember the Florida Zombie Man?
Yes.
Which, I mean, I didn't get too much into it because did he smoke or did he eat bath salts?
I forget which one, but he was on bath salts.
He was on bath salts and, he wasn't a real zombie. Just goes to show you that zombification can come from substance abuse. But, I remember everyone talking, this is, it was either late elementary school or early middle school when that happened. For some reason, I think it was, 4th grade for me. And I remember everyone being like, this is the start of the zombie apocalypse. We're all going to get eaten.
Right.
And the genre and the idea of zombie apocalypse has such far reached that the United States Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, actually released Preparedness 101 Zombie Apocalypse in 2001. Or 2011.
I think I remember that, actually.
So it's a graphic novel which uses the popular concept as a method of teaching emergency preparedness. So it's not actually a real manual for preparing for the zombie apocalypse. However, the United States Department of Defense has Contingency Plan 8888, or Con Plan 8888. Which is a contingency and defense strategy against a zombie outbreak or invasion.
Oh, that's so wild. I mean, it could happen.
It could happen. If a bunch of people take bath salts.
Right? There's just, some disease that makes people, become zombies. They don't necessarily...
Rabies does kind of zombify you right before you die.
Right.
It makes you uber violent and sort of catatonic where nobody can talk sense to you.
Exactly.
Not catatonic in you're lying there and comatose, but no one can reach you. You're just kind of in this fugue state.
Exactly. So it's not really out of the realm of possibility.
But there would have to be Haitian zombies. Do I believe they saw something? Do I believe that there's some substance that can be given to a person to put them into a fugue state where they're in a trance? Yes. The modern day Romero zombie, I don't believe in.
Okay.
What about you, Paul?
I don't know. I think it could happen, just like I said, I think it could happen where we could consider someone a zombie, because zombie, I feel now that we've talked about it, it's such a loose term.
It is. I probably should have covered that too, where zombie is really a loose term. And I as I was researching this, and I've had a cold, and Paul and I work together outside of this, so many times I've wanted to say to you, I have so much in common with zombies, because right now I'm more dead than alive.
Right, exactly. So you could something could happen where it's some disease or something that makes people like zombies. They might not actually be zombies, but makes them like zombies. So I could very much see that happening.
But I don't It's the cannibal. I mean, I do think, like, the bath salt guy, I think that they could be violent, like with rabies or bath salt. But I don't think that they would be flesh hungry.
I agree with that.
Unless it's, I think it's I Am Legend, where I think he figures out that, like, the creatures who are affected by the plague, they're not actually averse to, like, crucifixes or garlic or sunlight. It's just that the results of the plague are so like vampirism that our ingrained idea of vampirism has made them adverse to light and crucifixes and garlic.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So I could see, like, if there's, like, this disease or, like, mass hysteria, it could create people who think they're zombies and, like, they turn cannibalistic.
I could see that happening.
But I don't think it would be a total... I definitely don't believe in a zombie apocalypse.
I don't know. You never know. Anything could happen.
I think if there's, like, a form of mass hysteria like that or some disease, I think, like, there would be some way to, like, stop it before it's that widespread. I mean, if COVID didn't take out humanity.
I mean, I don't know. It's complicated. I feel like life is stranger than fiction, and really anything could happen, honestly.
That's true. Paul, do you have a favorite zombie movie?
A favorite zombie movie? Oh, jeez. I'm just gonna be basic and say Zombieland. I'm not a fan of zombie movies. Not my thing, not my tea.
Yeah, you don't like gore, correct?
I don't like who?
Gore.
Gore? I do. I'm fine with gore.
I don't like gore. I hate gore.
I mean, I don't seek it out or anything, but I'm fine with it.
I hate it. I like thrillers.
Mm-hmm. I
like suspense. I can even deal with, like, jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, gore. Saw movies, not for me.
Oh, I'm here for it.
I will say, my favorite zombie movie, thank you for asking.
Stupid.
I'm going to say the classic Night of the Living Dead.
Okay. I kind of figured that because you were so excited when you were talking about it, and it brings back fun memories for you.
It does, and I remember the first time watching it with my dad, and just, like, it was like, I could imagine being, like, a little kid whose favorite, like, I love Disney. But, like, all like, the fairy tales that you listened to growing up were movies by the time I was born. But, like, I couldn't see Night of the Living Dead when I was 6. So when I finally saw it when I was, like, 12 or so, it was like seeing my fairy tale turned into a movie.
Oh, okay.
In the most horrifying, disgusting, repulsive way ever.
And here you are today. Explain that.
I really do want to see, because I love books and I love Jane Austen, I really want to see Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
That is a movie, isn't it?
That is a movie.
I forgot about that.
Maybe since it's snowing, that can be the movie we watch tonight, if it's free somewhere.
We'll see. Maybe, yeah, sure.
It's zombies. It's a scary movie. You like scary movies.
But Pride and Prejudice, it's just so long and drawn out.
It's not like Pride and Prejudice.
We'll watch the trailer. We'll see what happens.
Jesus. Have you ever even seen Pride and Prejudice?
No, because it's too long and drawn out. I don't got time for all that, okay?
The movie's not even 2 hours long.
I am a busy man on a busy schedule. I got things to do. I need my movie to be within an hour and a half to 2 hours. Any more than that, done out. Like, I got things to do. I got people to see. I got bills to pay.
It's 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Cut. Nope.
I won't. Paul, I have watched 2 hour long movies with you. Saltburn.
Cite your sources. Cite how long is Saltburn?
I'm looking it up because Saltburn. That was a long movie.
I don't think so. And if it is longer than 2 hours, we have to cut out the good scenes, which was a good half of the movie.
2 hours, 7 minutes.
Yep, and we're going to cut out the first 7. We're going to cut 7 minutes for the bathtub scene and the grave scene. Boom, 2 hours.
Those were your favorite scenes.
Listen, exactly. That's why I'm cutting it, and that's why we made the exception.
Okay. I will force you to watch Pride and Prejudice with me one day.
I've just destroyed all of DJ's hopes and dreams.
No, you might have destroyed our friendship, though.
Oh my god.
Paul, smash or pass George A. Romero?
George A. Romero. I guess we're gonna have to smash. He got all that money. Period. We're in our bag era. We're getting our coins.
I mean, I'm just gonna smash him for the fact that he's iconic.
Legend.
He created an entire subgenre of media. I'm not even gonna say horror films. I'm just saying media.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's so culturally prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh represent.
Hometown pride. Let's go.
Yeah, just smash.
I'm here for it. I learned so much this episode. This was really interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be like interested in like the history of zombies, but like now it's like, wow.
Yeah, and I mean it would be a disservice to like just do scary zombie stories because like zombies are a movie monster, and like I wanted to do the history of what's the real concept and where it came from and how it evolved.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, like how it actually came about.
Because sometimes reality is scarier than fiction.
Period.
Fuck the colonizers.
Exactly.
Paul, anything for the greater good?
No, this was a great episode, and I really enjoyed learning.
Please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave us a good review. It really will help us continue climbing. We want to, like, anyone who is interested in spooky paranormal, but with a slight comedic twist, we want to reach them, so please help us along. Also, if you have friends, family, coworkers who would be interested, tell them about us and bring them along for the ride. Like, we would love that. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media. Paul, would you like to shout out the social media?
Sure, you can follow me at Paulember, Paulember. Sorry, Ember. Sorry, I'm still laughing. And you can follow Crypts and Corks on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and Twitter. All of the socials linked down below.
Facebook and Twitter, it's Crypts and Corks, or at Crypts and Corks. On Instagram and TikTok, it's at Crypts and Corks Pod, no spaces. If you have story suggestions or personal stories, we do want to get into doing listener stories eventually. You can email us at cryptsandcorks@gmail.com. And if you'd like to follow me, my Instagram is at DJ Chessy, CHESSEY Powers. And that's all she wrote. Stay safe out there. Remember, they're coming to get you, Barbara. And remember to prevent the zombie apocalypse, to always keep your crypts tight. And if they do get out,
keep your corks loose.
Bye.